And I'm back. Let me try to be a little more focused this time. All right. So, what we're talking about is what women want. And so I explained, I mean, you have to skip through the video to get everything I said. So, let me break it down from the beginning again. You have your alpha males who are usually considered the aggressive type, the leadership type, the biggest, strongest, more assertive men. You have the betas, which is the classical nice guys, right? They are the followers. They're the ones who are not too ambitious. They just get through life, things like that. The majority of men are betas. They are often mischaracterized as being weak men, and that's not necessarily true. They are just not. They're just not engaging in power dynamics within the social group. Um, you have the sigma males who are the equally competent, equally strong, equally aggressive men as the alphas, but they do not struggle for dominance in the group. When it comes to dating, the sigma male is the guy who is not actively out there looking for women. He does date. He may even womanize, but he does it in a very, very quiet way, and not very assertive and aggressive with women. Um, you have the delta males who are the resentful men who don't really want relationships, even though do um, they do nurture relationships with other men, often so they can talk about women. They could rub off on each other on their anger at relationships and stuff like that. And these are the guys who reject relationships. There are two types of men who reject relationships. The other type are the zeta males. The zeta males are the self-focused, um, ambitious, highly competent, highly driven men who who stay away from relationships because they're in a monastic lifestyle where they are pushing for self-improvement, when they are uh, trying to accomplish goals and things like that. And they reject relationships not because they don't like them, but because the relationships just get in the way of their goals. Okay. And then uh and then there are gamma males. Gamma males are the fun-loving, laid-back, adventure seekers. They are the fun seekers. They're the ones that like to go out. So, for example, if you meet a guy and you have your meet and greet and you talk, and then they plan dates. A date with an alpha would usually be a concert, or um, maybe a boat trip somewhere, or a football game, things like that. Alpha males in dating want to impress the women by showing them either how good looking they are, how desirable that they are. Alpha males will often put you in places where there's a lot of women, and the women like them, and they call that social proof, where they are trying to prove to you how desirable they are, and they also try to prove to you how much money they got, right? So they'll pick dates where they get to show that off. They'll come pick you up in their car, and show you they have a nice car, things like that. That's how an alpha does it. A beta males, uh, the way they approach relationships, those are the guys that women usually like because they are the most like women. They are emotional men. They are attentive men. Um, Betas will make you feel like he thinks he's lucky. Alphas try to make you feel like you think you're lucky. You know what I'm saying? They try to make you feel like you're lucky. Okay. Um, so a beta male, for example, would do your traditional date, but he wants something where he can do a lot of he can focus on you, and it could be something that you're interested in. If you tell him, I like this activity, he'll take you and to go do that activity. Beta males uh, tend to uh, find activities to do with his woman where they can talk. They value conversation with women, where alphas dominate the conversation. They do most of the talking, right? Sigma males also do that too. Sigma males do a lot of talking. I consider myself a Sigma male. Bam, Sigma. No, this is just my fraternity, but ironically, I consider myself a Sigma male. So a Sigma male, um, if they do date, because Sigma males don't date very often, um, tend to be selfish. And so what happens with Sigmas is you will do things that he likes to do. He's not really trying to impress you. He doesn't care if he impresses you or not. Um, like I said, the Sigma male can be just as aggressive, but he is self-focused. So, and then he's not interested in the power dynamic. He's not trying, Sigma males, for example, don't go to singles clubs or do dating sites and stuff like that. Sigma males kind of go through their life, focus on their goals, but they do take time out for relationships and stuff like that. Where the Zeta male does not date at all. He just simply does not date. Um, if you meet him, you will meet him you'll meet him through his activities. You'll meet him while he's working or something like that. And you could form a relationship with the Zeta male. Um, the Zeta males are often the kind of nerdy, the kind of nerd guys, right? And so what happens is, so let me back away from that. So, and then of course the Gamma males, if you have a date with a Gamma male, he'll take you sailing. You know what I mean? He'll take you snowboarding and shit like that. Let's go bungee cord jumping, and I mean those are extreme examples, but that's what the Gamma male does. The Gamma male is, girl, let's go have fun. It could be going to amusement park or something like that. His focus is on fun, and what happens is if you go on a date with a Gamma male, regardless of how attracted you are to each other, you will end that date like, fuck, I gotta do that again. And so Gamma males are actually very, very successful with women because when you're with a Gamma male, you're doing shit that no other guy, you've never done with any other guy. You know what I mean? And you have like hella memories with this dude. And so even if you friend zone him and you get a new boyfriend, you're going to be calling that Gamma male, telling him, like, boy, what you doing this weekend? You know what I mean? And so he would make a great relationship with a Gamma female. You see what I'm saying? And so let's talk about this. So alpha males, I saw a statistic. It was an article, but it was a statistic in an article saying that on dating site they surveyed, I don't remember, maybe 5 dating sites, and it said, a Tinder being one of them, by the way. So they talked to like the big boys. 80% of the women swiped left on 10% of the men. And you think about that. 80% of the women are going after a very small percentage of the men. And the guys who oversimplify the personality types would call those 10% the alpha males. And that's not necessarily true, because not all alpha males are good looking. Not all beta males are ugly. And you can have very good looking betas, very very good looking deltas. Remember, deltas being the resentful men, right? The guys who what do they call that? The 40-year-old divorcees who are just mad at the world. You know what I mean? Some of those guys can be very good looking. Looks have nothing to do with any of this. This is all personality type. And just like you can be an alpha male and be fat or be skinny, or like I said, be unattractive. You can be an alpha male and not have a job. Every prison is full of alpha males. So anyway, so that's that. But what happens is, just keep that in mind, that majority of the women are going after a small percentage of the men. Where on the male side of the house, it's not the opposite. The majority of the men on dating sites swipe left on a majority of the women. Did you catch that? I thought that was pretty interesting. Most men find most women dateable, but most women find a very small percentage of men dateable. Now, that doesn't mean, so of course that's going to result in a lot of single women, and it results in what they call an alpha widow. It's going to come up with a lot of alpha widow. Alpha widow is a woman who would like to be with an alpha man but cannot get one. You see what I'm saying? It could also be a woman who's had an alpha man, lost him, and can't find another. So what happens is she settles for a beta male, and then she's therefore dissatisfied with the man that she has. So so the whole, so that's just keep that part in mind, right? That the majority of the women want that. So now here's another thing. I read another article, and it said that women, regardless of their market value in the singles market, want a high value male. So what that means is high value women are good looking women, very successful women, women with a small number of kids or no kids, women who are very fit, very healthy, and so those are high value women. High value men, exactly the same thing. They're good looking men. Sorry, childbearing age. They're childbearing age, right? So, but women peak earlier than men. Women peak. They hit the wall at about 28, 29, meaning their peak is from 20 years old to about 28 or 29. That's when she's at her most desirable. Men are a little bit later. Men start their peak at about 28, and then they fizzle out at about 37, 36, 37. That is, and that overlap is due to women being more valued for their beauty, men being mostly valued for their, not for their looks, but for their ability to take care of a family, the ability to provide. And like I said, please go back and watch my manhood series. When the series is done, you will have the definition of a true alpha male. Okay. So that's, these videos, I can't really say enough in there, and that's why I gotta write a book, write the stuff out. So like I said, women, regardless of their value, that if they're and please don't be offended by this, but if they are overweight, if they're unattractive, if they have a lot of children, if they have children by 2 or 3 different men, if they are struggling financially, they're not economically strong, if they have family issues, right? A bad relationship with one parent, or no relationship with one parent, things like that. That results in a lower value female. And this statistic said even lower value female want a higher value men. And I can tell you, when I was on a dating site, that I've seen women that were obese, that were older. I've had women tell me this, that I can't have no man with a belly, but she's sitting there with the fupa. You know what I'm saying? That there are a lot of women who feel like I have to. Matter of fact, there's a lot of women right now in our age group, my age group. I'm 51 years old. There's a lot of women who don't want a man with children. Even though she's got children, she don't want a man with children. I know I've met, and well, not really met, but I've seen a lot of women who are overweight who will not date an overweight man. And they'll even clown the overweight man. You know what I'm saying? So, so fellas, keep this in mind, that to be in the singles market, it takes a lot of work. And it's true. I mean, for the women too, but it's harder for the men, because what happens is, even, most brothers, especially black men, we will date an overweight woman. Some of us prefer an overweight woman, right? We don't see a woman being overweight or big as being unattractive. It's very different than for white men. White men You know, white men are really drawn to teenage and young, early 20 women. That's what they like. Um, most guys in my age group will not even consider a woman below 30. Like I don't like them below 40, to be honest. Um, there's a lot of black men. We like our women womanly. We like them fuller breasts, you know, wider hips, big booty, things like that. And white men like their women to look like they did when they were in high school. They like small, well, they like breasts. I mean, they like big breasts, but they like slim, small fit women. And so it's harder for white women, which is kind of like why white women come for brothers anyway, because they don't have a market. You know what I mean, on that side of the tracks. So anyway, so the male has to constantly work on himself, and what happens is when you hit 28, especially when you hit your mid 30s, you're not as good looking. You start losing your hair, you start growing a belly. um, you're not as attractive as you were when you were in your 20s, but you've got money. You see what I'm saying? And so that makes you attractive. And so that's why we peak out at such a later age. With a woman's money is irrelevant when it comes to dating. There are very few men out here who have an income requirement for a female. Well, I need my woman to make X amount of dollars. And this has to do with the hypergamous nature of women. And this is not gold digging, brothers. Okay, so that's something we got to get out of our vocabulary. Calling women gold diggers because they require a man to have, a good income and be a good provider. It's her nature to look out for herself and for her children. You know, but keep in mind, brothers, that women will put the children first. So something to consider that a lot of guys don't think of: if you have children and your woman has children, that means there's less to go around for your kids. So that's something you really have to think about, because a lot of guys don't think of that. They look at that woman, they see them big titties, they see that ass, like, damn, I want that. So you get with her, and then now you done caught feelings, you done fell in love with her, and hey, girl, let's move in together. Why don't you come into my place? Things like that. And what happens is your kids will be like, Dad, fuck is you doing? I gotta share my toy with this nigga. You know what I'm saying? I mean, honestly, we don't think of that, but what happens is right in the relationship, and the thing is, we don't process that. And once the woman comes in and she brings her children, it's natural for her to choose her children. Everybody says, "Oh, I'll treat your kids just like I treat mine." Not, they all say that, but nobody really does that. If there's a conflict between your children and her children, very few people will say, "Hey, look, let's talk about this, how we can sort this out. You talk to yours, I'm gonna talk to mine. We're gonna work this out." They will naturally protect their children more than they will protect yours, right? They will naturally see more fault in your children than they will see in theirs. And then of course you don't want to admit this, but you will do the same. You will choose your children over her children, and this often makes blended families. It makes it hard for blended families. So that's why we have a lot of women who are single mothers who say, "I don't want a man who's got children." You see what I'm saying? Because they may have done this before. And for many of us, we get a divorce. Our kids don't live with us, for most of us. So we don't know that feeling. Our kid comes over for the weekend. But it also affects your relationship with your children if your kids come over the weekend. So now they used to come over for the weekend. They got daddy all weekend. Now when they come over, there's this other chick in there and there's like 2, 3 more kids, right? And so now I got to share my room with these other kids. Or now I got to share my room with my brother because he lost his room to them kids. So that's something to think about. Uh, Now, in the whole dating thing, understand that women have. So let me define hypergamy. Hypergamy is the inclination of women to choose a mate who is higher on the scale than herself, higher on the socioeconomic scale, um, uh, maybe even a genetic scale, like uh, like an don't be offended by this, but an overweight woman wanting a guy with a perfect body. That's hypergamy. When you are leveling up by choosing a mate who pulls you up. You see what I'm saying? So with for example, Princess Diana was a common woman who married a prince, and that raised her esteem, and for the rest of her life we called her Princess Diana. Even when she divorced him, she was no longer royalty. That raised her esteem because of who she married. Every time, Mariah Carey married a billionaire, right? She was just a singer, but when she married this dude, Tommy Mottola, is that what his name? When she married this dude, she elevated her status. Now, I don't know how much this dude paid her off, but she was never the same Mariah Carey after that because she was married to this old white man. And people will say, oh, she's rich. Why would she marry this dude? Because of the hypergamous nature of women. That's why you don't find a lot of wealthy women marrying middle-class guys. Women need to have a guy who is equally intelligent, equally sharing the same status or higher than herself. That's what she needs, because back to the oversimplified male characteristics, she needs an alpha male. Everybody wants the alpha. Everybody wants the higher man. They want the leader of the pack. You see what I'm saying? Because when that happens, you become the alpha female. Now, with the personality types of men, there are personality types of women. So you have women who are leaders. You have women who are highly competent, highly educated, that are successful, highly driven. And those women, depending on their view of men, will most likely want an alpha male, right? You cannot have a strong, intelligent, successful, hardworking woman with a guy with a not a 9 to 5 job, with a regular job, with no degree, who is not ambitious and driven. That don't work. Of course, in the black community, back to my subject of male, masculinity in the black community, our women do that shit. And because our women don't act on their hypergamous nature, because they don't practice hypergamy, because they don't practice natural selection or mate selection, because they don't do that, their whole relationship, that whole family dynamic is out of balance, because now you have a woman who is with an inferior male. And a lot of you women have inferior men in your past. You even have your children by inferior men. You see what I'm saying? And go back and watch my video. I have 2 videos on natural selection. Go back and watch those. When a woman does not practice hypergamy, she is not reaching her full potential in her life, because she needs a man who can bring out the best in her. Now, of course, you feminists are going to sit there and say, I don't really need a... Okay, fine. But you know what? That's why you're a single mother. Okay, very few of these self-avowed feminists, especially the fierce ones, are married. Why? Because a man ain't gonna put up with that shit. Men don't like that. Okay, you cannot have a family dynamic with a power struggle going on inside. You can't tell me what to do. Brothers don't come home and tell, well, some do, come home and tell women what to do. But brothers will lead their families. And if you have a woman who refuses to allow a man to lead the family, you're not going to have a family very long. See what I'm saying? Now, there are beta women. And beta women are the women who are not necessarily as driven. They might be hardworking. They might be ambitious and things like that. But within their circle, their professional circle, the social circle of women that they're with, they are not pushing to lead the group. They're not pushing to become the leader of their field and stuff like that. They could be somewhat ambitious, but that is not ambition, and power is not, they're not preoccupied with it. And so for those women, they also still want an alpha male. You see what I'm saying? So that really makes it hard on their brothers. So that being said, men understanding this have to be in a constant state of self-improvement. We must be fit. Fellas, I know the three brothers are watching my videos right now. Before I get to your thing, just understand this one thing. You have to be in a constant state of improving your SMV. And even when you do land a woman, you got to continue doing it because of the hypergamous nature of women. If you are with a woman who has lowered her standards, and we never know this, we never know. If you're with a woman who has lowered her standards to be with you, in one eye, she's still, in her peripheral vision, she's still looking at other men. And when she finds one that she thinks is a better deal, she will find a way to break up with you. Or if she does not break up with you to be with this guy, maybe the guy doesn't go for her or whatever, or he's not interested in her, she will be dissatisfied with you. She will nitpick at you. Why don't you go to the gym? Your belly's getting big. Well, damn, I've had this belly the whole marriage. Why all of a sudden is she interested in your belly? Because there's a dude on the job, but there's a dude that don't have a belly that she likes. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe she sees potential in you to become the man that she wants. So for us men, it's just a good practice to always be working on bettering ourselves, right? Not just our fitness or how we look, but, always adding to our wisdom, right? Studying personal economics, personal finance. Why? Because I'm leading a family. And how can I lead this family if economically we're just staying afloat? That we're not developing power as a family unit. See what I'm saying? You have to be studying things like, for example, you have to study child psychology. You have to. Parents have to. But the thing is, parents don't. So what happens is when your teenagers start acting out, because they will, right? Their bodies are growing and their minds are growing, and they're getting more and more influence from other kids, and often these influences are not good influences. You have to know how to deal with that as a father, because mothers will deal with it, but there's a point that she's gonna come to you, even if you're not with this woman no more, even if you're not with this sister. She's gonna pick up the phone and say, "Look, I got a homeboy whose baby's mother took his son away. She fought him in court, and when the court finally said he gets 50% custody, she packed that baby up and went to fucking Florida." That was fucked up. But my boy is a very wise man, right? He's a very wise man. And we talked about that shit 10 years ago. He said that, because he was very good to his son loved him. He said, my son is not going to forget me. And when he becomes a teenager, he's going to resent his mama. And that's exactly what happened. When he was like 16, 17 years old, all of a sudden he's getting these phone calls from Tallahassee, Florida. Right? The fuck is this? Calls the girl back, and it's her. She's like, "I gotta do something with this son. You need to come get your son." Hold on, bitch. You took him from me. Right? What's going on? What happened was, he was prepared to deal with that son's problem. She was not. She don't know nothing about raising boys and all this kind of stuff. All she was interested in was the adversity, the adversity of fighting him for custody. And when the judge sided with him, she took the baby and left. Right? So, and I get off subject. So the bottom line is, we are leaders. Even when we're not with the women no more, they will call you. The women will call you to help out with the children. You may not have had a good relationship. You may not even seen this child if she's really vindictive, but you're still the man of that unit. So even though she may be with another nigga, maybe she might, hate your guts or whatever, but she's eventually going to need your wisdom for that child, and your child is going to need your wisdom. So we have to be in a constant state of self-improvement, not just for dating, but especially for dating, fellas, especially for dating. You cannot say, "I want a high value female," and not make yourself a high value man. That's the whole point of all these videos. That if you want a high value relationship, say for example, maybe you don't want an alpha female, right? You still have to strive to become an alpha male yourself in order to maintain a good relationship with the woman that you're with, right? You have to observe the rules of hypergamy. You have to be a higher man. You have to make more money. You have to handle your money better. You have to be better looking. You have to have a better vision and a direction for the family unit in order to keep this woman happy. Okay. Not saying that the woman's going to cheat because another dude checks her out and he likes her, but in love, of course, love, and if your woman is a good woman, she won't pay attention to that. But many women, there's a tiny little piece that maybe she's wondering what it would be like to have a better man. So you become a better man, so that another brother comes along and she's like completely like this. Everybody says, "Oh, I don't even entertain that," but back in their minds, we're human. Everybody does. Okay, everybody does. And so um, by constantly upgrading yourself, never letting yourself slide. Just like, I used to talk bad about my ex. I mean, not talk bad, but I used to criticize my ex because every time she leave the house, she had to be decked out, right? But when I think back to our marriage, I realized, okay, she may have been doing that to, impress other people, impress other men. But the thing was, she always looked good. And to this day, she's a fox. I hate her guts, but she's a fox. And so that keeps, now her problem is she's not very good at the relationship dynamics of relationships management. But if she was, whatever dude she had would be just as stupid as I was. You know what I mean? Because we like what we see. And if we like what we see and we like how they treat us, man, niggas ain't going nowhere. So it's the same thing for you brothers, that if your woman likes what she sees, if your woman likes where the direction that you guys are going and you're successful, and or you're at least on the path to success, she likes the vision, she likes your ideas, you're treating her well, you know how to, like I said, you know how to manage the relationship, you're making her feel like $1,000,000 all the time, that relationship is solid. It ain't going nowhere. But if you get lazy, you let stuff fall apart, you play video games all weekend instead of cutting the grass and helping her with the chores and stuff like that, you're going to lose that woman. Okay? Or if you don't lose her, she's going to be there but be unhappy while she's there. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got for this subject. And the very next video, I promise, Pierre, brother, I got you. Next video. All right, peace.